All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar today. The topic here is just 5 critical Salesforce tips and tricks. So we're going to go through the 5 tips. I'm going to hop back and forth into Salesforce and show you some of these things. Some of them are just going to be talking points, and we'll go from there. We will have time for questions at the end, so just let me know what you want to chat about there, and we'll be able to address some individual concerns as well. So just a little bit of information about me. I've been using Salesforce for about 6 years now. I started out as an administrator and then eventually moved over to consultant. I've worked in about 100 different instances, and through there kind of learned different things. It's talking. What do I do? Just talk over it now? So we're going to go ahead and hop into the first topic on here, and that is just to keep your data clean. So in Salesforce, there are several different ways you can enforce data quality. One of them is validation rules. So you have the ability to pick when certain fields are required, for example, based on record criteria. So once an opportunity progresses a certain stage, we will require certain fields. Another way you can keep data clean is using deduplication, and that will let you look for duplicates in your data, make sure that the system's staying clean and running smoothly. And there are several dedupe tools on the App Exchange that you can use. Capture is one of them that's free. And so as you it can prevent duplicates from being entered. You can also purchase other tools like demand tools, which can run through your system and clean up existing duplicates. So you'll just look through and see what exactly you want to do with that, whether it's duplicate prevention or mass duplicate cleanup, and tools from the App Exchange can help you do one or more of those things. Another thing to be aware of with that is your field usage on objects. It's very common, especially if you're an admin for multiple departments or you have multiple admins, for people to add fields ad hoc, and sometimes there's two fields that are really serving the same purpose. So just making sure you have a good handle on what fields we have in the system, how are they available, are they visible to the right profiles? Those can really help make sure that the fields you have are, of course, applicable. When you're running reports, you know what you're looking at. There's no confusion there. And then the last thing for keeping data clean, I'll mention, is record types. Record types are available in Enterprise Edition or above. They allow you to have different processes per record depending on the type of record you've selected. So, for example, if this is a new opportunity, they'll have more fields, maybe a longer sales process, versus if this opportunity were a renewal, there are fewer fields, maybe fewer stages, and that can allow you to make sure that the page is very targeted for the particular experience. The next tip we have on here is to work backwards when it comes to analytics. And this one may sound a little bit weird, but what I mean by this is it's great if you can chart out your process start to finish before you start developing Salesforce, because you can say, all right, if at the end of the day I want to know what my opportunity stages are, I might need to have a way to show those days per age. So if you knew that at the beginning, you can put in some workflow rules that capture the date when the stage changes from one to the other. And you could also then use that in your reports, of course. And there are other use cases of that, like lead source, for example. Sometimes a few months down the road, people are like, well, it's great to know where our leads are coming from. If you hadn't already defined a process to gather your lead source and maybe require it with a validation rule, like from tip number 1, then you will kind of be in a corner there, especially with leads. If you can't update leads that are already converted and go back and fix that, you really would be starting from when you came up with the idea. So it's kind of hard to be forward-looking, but if you are, as much as you can, if you know what your KPIs are going to be and what analytics you want to get at the end of the day, then you develop Salesforce to meet that process immediately. The next tip on here we have is integrating with your email and website. Now we're going to hop into Salesforce. I'm going to show you how this looks. But there are a few standard features out of the box that can help you integrate with both email and website. So we're going to come over here. Now, here we have a standard instance of Salesforce. I'm going to go over and hop into the setup menu and just show you how web to lead works, for example. That's the first one on here, which is integrating with your website. Now, all options have web to lead as web to case available. What it is it allows you to generate HTML directly from Salesforce, which you can then take and put on your website, and it'll gather the lead information. You can choose what fields are there, first name, last name, company, phone, for example, and with case you'll have more fields. And it sends that information directly into Salesforce. Again, this is a standard feature. It's actually very easy to use. You don't really need to know how to code or write HTML for this portion. You just go into a declarative window. You pick and choose what fields you want. Like I said, we can choose, if city is not important to us, at least at this phase, I can do that. You define a return URL, so you'll usually have a thank you page, and you'll generate. And what it does is it actually gives you all the HTML you need here. You'll copy this, send it over to your webmaster, and be good to go from there. You can do the same thing with web to case. So you'll set that up, and the process is exactly the same. It'll come into the appropriate objects, either a lead or a case as you've defined. And then as far as email integration goes, that's obviously extremely important, because a lot of times, especially if you're first implementing a CRM, you are used to using email, but logging those in Salesforce may be a new experience for you. So if you can make it easier on your end users by leveraging email integration, it can make the adoption process much smoother. Now, out of the box, Salesforce does have an integration with Outlook. So if you are an Outlook user, you can actually go ahead and use that. You do define your own configuration, which allows you to do it either user by user, and then also the records that are synced. So some people, they only want to sync email or only want to do their calendar and email but not contacts. You can see I have options on all of those objects. So by default, you have the ability, if you choose, to sync not only your email, which is one of the important ones, but also your contacts, your events from your calendar, and also your tasks, which will sync to the appropriate objects in Salesforce. So again, something that really helps with adoption, just because it's a familiar setting for your users to keep working in. If you're not an Outlook user, there are several apps on the App Exchange which can sync with Gmail or MacMail or any other email systems, and those can be scoped out. And that actually leads me into my next point on here, which is utilize the App Exchange. A lot of partners out there have already done a lot of the work for you when it comes to standard processes in Salesforce or add-ons that you'd like to have, and the App Exchange is a great place to go and see what exists out there to help you get to where you need. I've listed a few on here that I like and a couple that I mentioned, for example, Dupe Catcher. So back to keeping it clean, Dupe Catcher is a free app that lets you stop duplicates. DocuSign, for example, a lot of people want to get e-signatures on their quote process, and partners, like I said, they've already designed this, so take advantage of what's there for you and be able to leverage Salesforce more fully. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to access the App Exchange and a few considerations with those packages. So the App Exchange, you can just anytime go to appexchange.salesforce.com. If you notice, there's also a quick link from my app selection here to pop over there. And then you can search through things. There are free apps. There are actually a lot of free apps in here, whether they're connections to other systems that you already pay for. A lot of times they're linked to Salesforce is free, or there are Salesforce-provided apps. One great one is dashboard apps. So Salesforce Labs and other companies will oftentimes develop a group of dashboards, things that people typically want to see, and you can go here and download just dashboards and reports to get you started. I'm going to bring up this one that's produced by Salesforce. It is a free dashboard package. It shows you some screenshots on here so you can look and see what you're getting before. But it's just a quick way to get started with some standard processes and procedures, and again, letting other people do the work for you will definitely get you there quicker. All right, so let's hop back over to the slides and look at our last point on here, which is integration with your other systems. And this is a big one, and a lot of times it's scary for people because it does take a lot of thought. You want to have fields in both systems that map to each other, and there may be conflict behaviors, and what do we do with the most updated record here versus there, and how do we sync those, and what trumps what? So that's where partners like Outbox Systems comes into play. We are an integration specialist, and we can pull other systems together. What a lot of people end up doing is using Salesforce kind of as a centralized hub for all the data and running analytics. Salesforce Analytics Cloud is very powerful. It's why a lot of people buy Salesforce in the first place. And if you can flow your information from different systems, whether it comes from your ERP or if you have Marketo or Eloqua or Pardot or HubSpot on your marketing side, you want all that information to flow into Salesforce so salespeople can see it as it comes down the chain to them, or customer support people can see, you know, invoices like, are these people up to date? Should I be providing support? All that type of stuff. Makes collaboration a lot more easier if it all is centralized, and so that's where we get into the integration process there. If you have questions on this or any of the things that we've mentioned, we're going to have time right now actually to get in there, and so be thinking of those and chatting them over through the Hangouts pane so we'll be able to ask those questions. So here's just a quick recap for you. One, keep it clean. Those same things before. If you want to use Salesforce to its full capacity, you need to trust the data that's in there. So that's a big one. Working backwards towards your analytics. I know this is a tricky one because, like I said, you can't always know the future of what you're going to want to see. But you usually have a good handle on what your KPIs are and the metrics that you're going to want to track. And so if you discuss those through with a consultant or internally and make sure that, if this is the number we want to see at the end of the day, what does that mean we need to be gathering from our users on a daily basis, record by record? It'll really help you out in the long run. Integrating with your email and website. So these things are out of the box for a lot of the part and also available on the App Exchange for minimal cost usually, and it really helps with adoption and also getting your data quickly into Salesforce. Utilize the App Exchange. Let other people do the work for you. Take advantage of all of the partners and the heavy infrastructure that you have with the Salesforce community there, and you'll be all the more efficient for it. And then lastly, integrating with your other systems. Use Salesforce as a hub, run your analytics from there, make sure that the data chain is trickling down through the entire customer lifecycle, and things will just be a lot easier for all of your users. All right, so we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions now. You can chat them in the questions pane on Hangouts and let me know if we want to get into any of these things here. All right, so one of the questions coming through is in regards to integrations. The question is, what level of Salesforce do I need in order to perform integrations? So that's a great question because it actually does depend. Now, a lot of the apps on the App Exchange will work with Professional Edition and Enterprise Edition or above. Although, if you're just writing an API integration, you require API, which is standardly available on Enterprise or above. So I do get that as a common question a lot because people immediately think that in order to integrate, I need to be on Enterprise Edition, and that's not necessarily true. Packages on the App Exchange can go through a little loophole there and actually perform integrations on a Professional Edition. So I would say look up the package or talk with the provider that you want to integrate with and see if that is available without necessarily having Enterprise Edition. And then if you do have Enterprise Edition, you'll be fine there. The next question I have is on data cleanliness, just asking about dedupe tools and what kind of the differences are between some of the free and some of the paid ones. So in my preference, the free ones are mainly to stop manual entry of duplicates. So sales rep gets a phone call, they go in, they enter the lead, it can pop up and let them know that this email or this name is the same as another match. And you do have control over what the matching criteria is, so it has to be, the first 3 letters of the first name and the whole last name, so I can catch David versus Dave's, for example, and also the email or something. But it's just going to be on manual entry processes. So if you need something more robust, for example, that stops leads coming in from the website that are duplicates, or cleans your existing database systematically, whether that's monthly or weekly or however you want to do that, you would usually be looking at a paid tool. And there are several of those on the App Exchange, like Ringlead, Cloud Dingo, Demand Tools are some of the big players there. Saw another question about fields and how to keep fields clean. So that's always an ongoing struggle for sure. There is an app on the App Exchange called Filtrip. It's a free app, and I think it just works on leads. But the basic idea is that it'll look at all of your records and let you know the percentage of population for the field. So you can see if a field's been used, 5% of the time, it might be time to review that or get rid of it. You can do the same process like on any object. A lot of times people hope that it's it's more automated than it is. But usually the easiest way to do it is just pick a control group of your records. So if you're going to do accounts, and if you have a ton of accounts, you'll definitely have to scale it down. If you don't have to worry about too much, but maybe just accounts created in the last year. And then you export that and you kind of play around with it in Excel, field by field, and see what the population percentage looks like per field. You'll have special considerations with formula fields, which are always populated, and so you don't always know, like checkboxes, same thing, it's just a Boolean. So you kind of have to use also your judgment there. But that'll at least get you started on a way to go forward with where are the outliers with the fields, so we know at least where to start if we have close to our 500 custom field limit and we want to scale that down. All right, so that's all the questions I'm seeing. If you do have anything else, you can definitely follow up with us afterward. There is a link on this page right now where you can sign up for our weekly mailer, and we send out tips and tricks like this and just other helpful topics that you can follow us on. And then also you can always reach out to us on our website, outboxsystems.com, to get more information about us helping you to make your Salesforce better, more efficient, more effective, or to train you on becoming your own Salesforce Pro internally. We do offer training as well as consulting, so if you want to take this on yourself and learn everything that we're talking about here and more, that's definitely something that we offer and would love to help you out with. So we're going to go ahead and end the webinar for today, but thank you all for joining, and we'll talk to you all later.